Pyramid One Radio. This is a Pyramid One International Network presentation. The conference call are up. Start calling. Hi, and welcome to Pyramid One Radio. Welcome to A View of Humanity with your host, Jamie Clark. Jamie Clark discovered that he had the gift of psychic intuition and could also communicate messages and feelings between people living and those who have left this physical plane of existence. In other words, he can communicate with those we have loved and lost. Now, with thousands of powerful connections made worldwide and years of experience as his guide, Jamie offers this healing phenomenon to those who need it most. People searching for life direction and guidance, as well as those seeking answers and closure from family and friends that have passed. How does Jamie's mediumship work? Let him tell you. Listen carefully. Triangulation of communication. He says, each of us is like a radio tuner. We have the ability to tune into many different channels. Before I read someone, I tune into our loved one's channel and send out an invitation of communication with you. Our souls are like fingerprints in a way that each of us is unique. Our loved ones know our soul print. And by our invitation and their realization, they now create a triangle of communication. Jamie says, Jamie to them to you, and you to Jamie. They know that Jamie is on and are receptive and will sometimes come early to understand Jamie's rules and regulations and how most effectively to communicate. Now that we are all on the same channel, let's work together as a team. Let me introduce to you, to the world, to the universe, Mr. Jamie Clark. There you go.
Brother Bobby, what's going on, sir? How you doing?
Everything is cool. I don't know if miracles can be coined. I think we just had one.
You just did, man, working your magic, because I'm out of state and all this stuff is just challenged. Hey, I appreciate that. And if you're okay, Bobby, I want to get into our guest here that I think we're going to have a lot of fun and tremendous insights, especially from this gentleman who has changed his life in so many different ways with so many different people.
Are you kidding? It's an honor to have both of you guys in the same place and everybody to call in on 605-472-5765. Access code is 608060 #.
Awesome. So today is Dr. Randall George Nozawa. And the doctor was blinded after 2 tragedies. Nozawa's will to live a full life continues undeterred. The doctor is living proof that a person can do everything right only to suffer horrific events that stymied decades of hard work and left him blind. The two most gruesome tragedies he has suffered would make the fire-breathing Godzilla buckle in bitterness. Not Nozawa. He's grateful just to be alive. Dreams really do come true, but you have to believe it before you can see it, he said. He's made his own dreams come true by helping others pursue their life aspirations. And in his free 14-page book, Precipice of Potential, which can be downloaded from his website at drrandallgeorge.com, Nozawa asks provocative questions to help readers examine their own lives more closely. Like, what do you do that fills you with joy and excitement? When is the last time that you gave something, anything, freely without expecting anything in return? Tremendously good food for thought. Now, if you want to hear more or get some more insight from Dr. Nozawa, it is Mirabelle.nozawa@gmail.com. That's Mirabelle. May I welcome Dr. Randall. How are you, sir?
Hey, right here, taller and better looking all the time.
Yeah, that's it, baby. And again, thank you for coming on and sharing with myself and the guests. So if you would, what got you into your spirituality? Because that tremendous physical life experience, what got you strongly on your path?
Okay. Well, two things. When I was a child, it's one of these kind of adopted in the family kind of deal, and I was raised as an only child, but I knew that I had brothers and sisters somewhere that they would actually come over, but I would be calling them cousins and all. But what I found is that I was a very good listener. I would sit and listen and watch everyone and what they did, and a lot of times that would preclude me from participating, but I would listen. And life went on, and I found I could run really fast, and I did really well in sports in Honolulu. And at the high school that I went to, it was a private all boys school at the time, and I got to go to school with the rich kids, but I went there to play football, so I was kind of not included in anything. But got to college, found out I loved studying, I loved learning. And then eventually got into the health club business because I liked things with the physical body, as well as what people thought and why people wanted to gain better health, or, lose weight, gain weight, and things like that, or why people chose what they did to eat, what kind of foods they put into their body, and why, because a lot of times it's often junk. Chose dental school because I was persuaded or pushed into that by all my acquaintances around back in Honolulu were all dentists, and I said I want to go to medical school. They go, why waste your time doing that? That's death and dying. I go, well, but I want to be able to take care of people, not just their teeth. But anyway, I got persuaded to go to dental school, and I did that for 13 years, and finally started, making money. Just like the American dream, right? You make money in this country and all that. And two things happened after 13 years of practice that I never expected. On my way home to my then 13-year-old's birthday party, I got run off the road, crashed my car into a bunch of trees, and when I got found, I was about a quarter mile from the house. But when I got found, I had a tree branch stuck in my brain, and then it had knocked out the left eye, and then I of course I had my seatbelt on, but that didn't seem to preclude me from hitting my head on the steering wheel. But and then my right eye was dangling on my right cheek here by the optic nerve, and it was that's like I finally made the late night news, except I was it. Yeah, it's like I get airlifted to the major hospital in Seattle, and I was probably in a coma for about 2 months, and they had to wait for the brain swelling to go down before they could put back my skull, and they had to rebuild my face. And and when I woke up, I said, "Hey, did you make me look like Tom Cruise? I mean, come on, at least give me something here, right?" But they go, "No, you kind of look like you." So they had to they took my driver's license. They kind of redid that. I go, "Okay, well, that's kind of cool, thank you." And so I'm missing this left eye, and the right eye is permanently damaged. So technically, I'm legally blind, and I really couldn't perform well as a dentist anymore. So I could give that up, and I went back to my what I did before was personal training and nutritional consulting and injury rehab, stuff like that, and any kind of personal development stuff. So that's what I did well before I got into dentistry. And how the universe goes, I met a elderly couple. The guy was a retired naturopath, and the lady he married was newly divorced, and of course she was got a lot of money from the divorce and all kind of things like that, and it's kind of common in our country. But anyway, we decided to do a nutrition business together, and I go, "Oh, this is great." That's what I've studied for 25 years, and here's this guy's a retired naturopath, but he's got his PhD in clinical nutrition. I can learn a lot from him. I did not know, she did not know that he was a fugitive from the law. Did not know that. And one evening, end of March, she called me over and said, "Hey, you mind coming over to the house? Because John does not listen to anyone. He only has respect for you." I go, "Oh gosh, it's 11:30. Oh, geez, okay." So I walked down there, and anyway, he melted down because I think he found out that his wife found out, and I didn't know that either. So he got his pistol out. It's a .357 Magnum, little pistol, and shot and killed her, and he shot me in the head.
Wow.
And of course, I was telling Bob this. He says, you get shot in the head, it doesn't hurt. It just feels like you're getting thumped on your forehead. I said, "Okay, but now I can't see." And I go, "Okay, now what? This guy knows I'm alive. He's going to shoot me again." But as it turned out, he shot himself in the head and killed himself.
Wow.
So if you can imagine this kind of Hollywood-esque story, is that here I am in a retirement community, and no one heard these gunshots, right? There's two dead bodies, and there's me that I can't see. I go, "Okay, now what? Now what?" So I was getting old, so I went back into their bedroom, and I got into the covers, and I plotted out this thing of my leaving. It's like in the morning I'm going to hear birds chirping, because that's what birds do. They get up early, and I'm going to find my way out and stand in the middle of the cul-de-sac until help arrives, and that's what I did. And that next morning I got up and trailed the wall trying to get you're learning how to be blind, and I found my way out the door and found you feel the change between cement and asphalt, and I'm standing there with their bedspread on me, and I'm blood all over, I guess. And I heard a door open a couple doors down, a couple homes down, and I yelled for help. And then the guy, he's probably getting his early morning paper. He goes, "Oh gosh, yeah, let me call the emergency system." Anyway, he called emergency, and then they had an ambulance there. Got in about 2 minutes, and I told Bob this story too. It's kind of funny because he came back to tell me, "Hey, they'll be here in 2 minutes," and they were. And then he went back into his house. I could hear him lock the door behind him, and I just started to laugh. I go, I can just imagine him getting up in the morning and seeing me. But anyway, I should have died twice, and I didn't. And I wonder about that. I guess it was I've been kind of studying up on the human needs and all the pillars of wellness and all the God laws, and there's 11 primary God laws, and one is called the law of sacrifice. You sacrifice something to get something. Well, I sacrificed my eyeballs, and what I got in return is I got to live my calling, my dream life. I'm so blessed. Okay, and because of that. How it goes too, I met someone that you both know, Kelly J. Wright, and we started chatting, and I say, "Well, you have your own show. How do you do that? And how do you get one?" "Well, you got to meet this guy, Bob Charles." I go, "Well, who the hell's that?" Okay, well, all right, fine. And then I finally met Bob. I said, I want my own show. He goes, well, what do you want to do on it? I don't know. I don't know. Well, so but you want your own show? But what are you going to do? Well, I have no idea. Okay. So anyway, I finally, have one, and it's, just being a blessing. And to answer the long way of answering a question, but it's I always often wondered, and I ask my wife this all the time. I should be dead. I don't know why I was left alive. I don't know why. And as I talk to God every day, I say, God, blindness is not fun. You know that, right? It's not fun.
No, no.
But it's
God,
like this is something where you have to lose your, that physical vision so you can actually see. I'm doing what I love doing now, and like I'm a better doctor than I was 20 years ago. So I study every day, and I've just kind of ramped up what I could do as a kid by connecting to people. I listen, and I can figure folks out, and then that's what I do, and that's my organization, Transformational Kaizen Institute for Personal Freedom, is in a lot of countries now, and basically it's a mentoring, coaching type of business, and we all have the same problems, by the way. No matter if you live in the United States or Thailand or Vietnam or someplace in Indonesia, we all have the same problems. And what I find, and I said what interests me in you, Jamie, is that you look into that invisible world, and all what this is, it deals with love, unconditional love, and it's because we come from it, and that's the highest form of energy. And here I'm just looking. I can barely walk across the street without my cane, or it's like we get hit by a car, right? So, and from there, so what do I do? And so at blind school, I learned how to use the computer with this talking mechanical voice. Learn kitchen safety, learn how to get around with the cane, how to catch buses, how to figure out south, east, west, and all. And from there, it's like, okay, now what? And I did what I could do well, is I put myself back into school. So I got into a couple of graduate programs in counseling psychology, and the other one's called addictions counseling. And I'm going, this is all you've done because you're just good at school. There's something else for you. So, because here you are. The first thing you do is get back into school. You've been going to school for how many decades already? Come on,
Just like life.
Yeah, and so I started just meditating more, just thinking more, just sitting and thinking in quiet, because the family's kind of doing their own little thing, and mine was always achievement, and then I told Bob this too. Now I was making all kind of money, top 1% of dental wage earners in our country, and I finally made it. And you know what? I wasn't happy. I was making all this money that I wanted. That's gonna make me happy. Look at him. I can buy any kind of car I want. Any kind of color. I can return the car, buy a new one because I didn't like it, and I've got so much money. It didn't make me happy because the money's freeing up to a certain point, but I wasn't doing what I love doing. This is what I love doing now, because I just love this part, and so Jamie, it's like I had to give up my eyes to do what I truly love, and so that's kind of my journey up to this point.
Well, God, not only that, I have a lot of respect and appreciation for you and what you're doing. And notice how symbolic your life is, man. You're driving down the road, kind of like your spiritual path as you're going, and then you're going to get an aggressive driver who's going to try to run you off, and then apparently does. And not only that, your left eye, which to me is also the analytical, the left hemisphere, practicality and all that you had to have rebooted. Literally, you're growing in a new direction with that branch, like, holy cow. But not only that, look at the aspect of what you went through in this way, meaning as a World Dental Alliance, you went from being the communicator always as the spiritual essence. And like I do, we're always growth-seeking beings, no matter how many dreams and aspirations in life you have. Once you attain them, we got more. But not only that, both circumstances that had happened with you is aggressive, and yet you come from love. That is powerful. That is love. And when people can see that, and it's when they're talking to you, they feel it. If you've got that passion, whatever it is, that's what connects with people. And for you to have such a symbolic life as well, and to graduate, you have the opportunity to graduate twice. Now, in addition, that also kind of brings up an interesting point that, I always share, those who know me, that I believe that basically every 7 years, we have a whole new body, 100 trillion new cells. My thing is, who's the constant thinker that stays within all of those new bodies? Your soul-productive consciousness. And so not only is it that, every 7 years going to change, but you literally face the oneness. You became one and your own choice to stick around. But not only that, with the ability to help those who can't help themselves, being a board member of the Women's Building and helping women and children that are being displaced, that have no empowerment of their own in some way. And when you can just give them tools and techniques, just maybe just a different perspective, that sometimes that's what we need is, okay, I'm not just making crap up, but it's me thinking about it. It's, in this case, Dr. Randall is listening to what I'm saying, and he's communicating with me. He's talking with me, not to me. Now, not only that, look at the one-stop shop that you've become, Dr. Randall, and that is you've got the whole spectrum covered, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, dietary, all of these aspects that you can take a person who may not have the most effective life at the moment, but when you can give them those tools and techniques, and like I do, if they choose to even vibe with it, perfect. But to be that bridge of consciousness, to give people an opportunity that we can hear and see your experience going, holy crap, I don't know if I'd be as loving and as patient as you are, man. And I'd be straight up with that, going, no. But for you to grow so powerfully and to help so many more people, and I agree with you, just like that, money's good, but, at least arrive at your problems in style. The point, it doesn't change stuff. It's your personal perspective that changes everything. And I think in giving, the information, and thank you for sharing your life experience with us, Dr. Randall. Now, within that brings up an interesting question to me, and that is, as you physically were losing your sight, did you metaphysically gain your mind sight, your spiritual sight?
This wonderful questions. I've thought of that too, because we, well, at least me, I'll just talk about me, is that, the vision was a big part of my entire life since I can remember back when as a child and growing up in Hawaii with everything's beautiful and lush and green and a lot of flowers and a lot of colors. And of course you take it for granted. And of course I can't wait to move away from here. It's too hot in Hawaii. So, it's like I go to college at Oregon and then moved up to Washington. And, Northwest is so beautiful, but you've got the seasons. And I had to buy something called the down jacket. I go, wow, how do you people walk around in shorts up here and all this cold? What's wrong? So I got used to that. But we're all sighted. And it's that's how for me, I just take that for granted. And of course, over the course of the years, I got more and more, but just nearsighted, so I couldn't see far things, and that made me pretty good dentist because I could see very close up.
Yeah.
But so that's good up to a certain point, right? But I go to this school, and it's top 3 dental schools in the country, so you're getting this great training, and and it's like you combine the academia and all the hand skill things, and to work that precisely to do what you need to do the just the oral surgery with people awake, and those 4 years of school just went so quickly, and now you pass the state board, and it's like, oh no, I'm a dentist. Oh, now what? So what I know is, okay, well, it's business, and my whole idea that I'm good at what I do, and I finally get to kind of make the kind of money I want. And but that's what I found out is that, wow, I'm making all this money, and yes, I'm kind of in that upper echelon of people that make those kind of bucks and all, and I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy. I said, I can't believe I'm going to do this the rest of my life. Oh no. And so for your listeners out there, it's like you start making this money, unless you love what you're doing, what's going to happen is that, one, you're going to lose interest, and you're probably going to lose it all. And I did. And yes, that wasn't so much fun for the family and all that, but I think that was a great growing point for me, and for my kids and all. Says, hey, your dad is actually studying harder now than he was in dental school, because things mean more to him, and he's looking at just wellness and health, and through all the body systems, and he's looking more spiritually at people, because he goes, why do some people just stay well and some people get sick? Why do things always happen to some folks and not to others? Why do so-called bad things happen to certain people, and repeatedly so, and other folks just have all good things happen to them? And why do some people bounce back really fast after going through some kind of unexpected incident? Why is that? So I started asking more questions. Why? And it always came back to something spiritual and visible, because it's that you can feel someone's energy when they walk into the room. It could be real bad, real good, very high, very low, and you can feel it. And I could feel that when I was a kid, but I just couldn't figure it out. Okay, because I was just one to just stand back and listen and watch, and observe, listen, watch, and observe, and I didn't participate. But now I get to. Okay, and so it's one of those kind of neat things. I get just the honor to be on your show, and to learn from an expert like you, because you look into that invisible world all the time, and you were chosen for this. I mean, you didn't say, oh, I want, you weren't as a young kid, oh yeah, I want to be a psychic, medium. That's kind of fun,
Exactly.
People want to be, they want to be the fireman. They want to play professional football. They want to go slam dunk a basketball, or things like that, or they want to do really well in business, or they want to have 15 girlfriends and things like that. And so it's likely I got to this point here, and I'm so blessed, because it's I kept on with it's one with positive. There's that good feeling, like of helping other people, because you break through all their barriers, their subconscious walls, all that stuff they're hiding behind, and that costume they're wearing, and you break them down, and they're finally vulnerable, because it's in our Western culture, make money, achieve, and then you're basically how the term goes, bulletproof until something happens and you're not. And then what?
Right.
Then what? When all the money goes away, and who you think you are is not who you are, then who do you go to talk to? Okay, maybe priest or pastor, or if you go see your doctor, they're just going to give you a prescription. So that's kind of obviously out of the question.
Of course.
And then who you talk to? If you're, depending who you're married to, your wife will say, well, why don't you get off your sorry ass and get back to work? Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much for the compassion. Okay.
That's just slap you with
let me just jump in here for 2 seconds, guys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We've got people in the phone room. I just want to remind the people in the phone room, just sit there, just be nice and comfortable and everything. I know that you're hearing what's going on. So just stay there. We will get to you one at a time. Thank you.
Oh, that's wonderful. But anyways, that's kind of brings me to the current. So like I said, I like your insight and, how you feel, because yours is, Jamie, just high energy stuff. You're like Bob. And, Bob just runs things and all that. But his is that his is high energy, and then just learning along the way, and then there's a kind of knowing with that energy, and all comes from love, from self-love, and then you share that love.
Definitely.
And then but the world looks totally different when you come from that lens. Okay, and so you opened up those kind of worlds for people, and I tell you, your average person is so desperate for something because they have this, they don't know where the anxiety is coming from. They don't know where the depression is coming from. They don't know why they're not fulfilled. Because some make a crap load of money. Some may have great marriages, great kids and all that. But still there's something missing. And I think what happens is that you do enough listening, and you get into that energetic world, and you help them, match up their energies, and you get to release them so they can be free. And
Yes.
that there's something to that where you go, and then you've got that kind of gift, and we all have it to a certain point, to a certain extent, but you've expanded yours, you've become an expert, and then yours, you can feel that invisible, you can feel it, and then
Yes.
you can draw out there things that that is so helpful to other people, because you can change lives by what you do. So anyway, I'm so glad to be here.
Well, thank you, and the same. And, it's us that are coming together as a family and a cosmic team that we're able to help others to help themselves. Because I think, like I do, Dr. Randall, is nobody needs to be fixed. Nobody needs to be saved. Just showing that power within, become more self-realized and begin to live like more and survive it. And with that, with your life experience, because you've done like a 180 completely in a very powerful way, did you get any insight as to how you got some of those experiences in life?
Yeah. Well, I look back at what I've done, and growing up as an only child, and it's my mom was schizophrenic with deep depression, and I tell this story a lot. As as a young child, I'm 3 and 4 and 5, and my mom breaks down, and she gets into this deep depression kind of deal, and she would run away from home. And when my dad would come home, and I said, Mom ran away again. He goes, get in the car. And so we drive around the neighborhood, with the windows down, and he goes, stick your head out and listen for the crying. And so we find my mom, and the next thing would be off to Queens Hospital, where she goes there for a couple of weeks worth of the electroconvulsive therapy, the shock treatment. And I told this story earlier, is that, but in her stay there, what happens is that they kind of normalize her emotions and all. But she goes through this this kind of class, this knitting class, where she gets to make a doll. And then at one time, right through my high school years and all, I had 7 of those dolls. Like the turtle, giraffe, ostrich, and all these kind of other animals, and I got all these, and so I didn't figure it out that this came from her therapy, and I go, wow, I got 7 of those things. If I just get 5 more, I get a dozen. Not thinking that
Yeah.
and so but that's my mom, and then the sweetest lady, and then hers is that I couldn't figure out why she was like this, because when she's so-called normal, she's normal and all, but then you fall into that deep depression, or what the symptoms are for schizophrenia, and a lot of that comes from our psychiatry type of sector of health and all that, and they don't look at the energetic level. They look at symptoms, and which is Western medicine, and they're always trying to give her pills, and never any kind of talking or counseling or saying, hey, why are you like this? And are there times that you're not? What do you feel? Okay, what kind of energy do you feel in your body at certain times of day, or when you think of things? None of that. And so, and it's only after many years later, I got her more into getting outside and walking, and being barefoot on grass or dirt, just to get the the good electrons into your body, and then thinking good thoughts, just something simple like that. And I ended up getting her off all the diabetes medications, which she was on for 40 years. And I said, Mom, what are you taking this for? I don't know. My doctor said to take it. Well, why? Well, because I'm diabetic. Well, if you just change your diet here, and get more plant-based and get some exercise going, you can recalibrate your inside. And she did, and she got all off her diabetes medications, got all off the the things for schizophrenia and all that. And of course, their doctors didn't like me. I said, well, she doesn't need it anymore. And why are you giving her this? Well, because she's schizophrenia and she can be depression. I said, that's not a lifelong commitment. Okay, that's not. Okay, and she's walking more outside. She's looking at the birds and she's looking at all the trees and all that. And she walks 2-3 times a day. And so, just I've learned, from that and, from my children, the 3 kids that are so different. And my wife was so intelligent, and she grew up in an abusive childhood, very abusive. And then as all her other siblings kind of wasted away and became either drug addicted or chemical addicted and all that, she went out and learned business, and she's opened up many businesses, and now she runs 2 of them. One's a catering company, and she just taught herself that, and she's very good with people. She likes to listen, she likes to learn, and hers is that she's never taken psychology and all that, but she listens like I do, and she can figure out people. And so I learned from all those kind of folks. And then even in dental school, looking at the I was older when I got in, and I was almost 30. And you're talking about kids that are 20 to 22 that got all the hard sciences done early, and then and like then we learn about how to learn. And so I think I'm pretty smart, right? So I try to get into these study groups with like the kids that finish in the top 5 and all that. So I'm studying with them, and what they do is that they look at things once and then they move on because they got it. So my question to them is don't you have to review it? We already did. I go, oh, I'm in the wrong study group. You guys are way too smart. Yes, you see, so but that's so kind of a roundabout way to answer your question. I learn from everyone because we're all so different. Yes. And and some people, you can see what drives them is that their families want them to be doctors, lawyers, or they want to be just successful, which is be like me. Be like me, not what you want, but you be like me because you have to do this to get wealth. You have to do this to marry the right person. You have to do this to live in the right house, and they're driven by that, and they're good at it. But see, what they're missing is their own development, their own lives, because they've been groomed. Their subconscious mind has been groomed in a certain way. They're not spiritually who they're supposed to be, and all of them. In my class, that there's something going on with them because they're very good at the mechanics of dentistry and all, but they're missing a lot of things in their lives because a lot of them aren't happy, and a lot of them making good money, and just like they're supposed to, the fancy car, the all this and all that. Then and a lot of times their kids go sideways and they can't figure it out. But a lot of them, they don't know what love is. They don't know what self-love is. It's always achievement, and then but they never look closely inside. So I learned from all that kind of stuff too, because you can tell what people do and what they're thinking when they're one daily habits. The other is that when something goes awry, when their story of how the world should work doesn't match up to their current life situations, and now they're in turmoil, and so that regular pain becomes suffering, and now they get stuck. What do people do when they go through the suffering? Some will pick some kind of way to buffer that, and it's either drugs or booze, or become angry at people, name calling, or you want to make people feel worse than you are, so you start calling them names. You start beating them up with the bad language. And so I look at that and I said, oh my gosh, and so what I decided is that it's like God didn't kill me. God didn't want me to die yet. And I said, I've got something else to do. So I started writing. I've written 77 digital personal development books and 24 are on my website. Awesome. I do, just like you said, work with the Women's Building and World Dental Alliance. And then, most recently I've been doing interactive seminars with this one nonprofit in Tacoma, Washington called House of Matthew. And what they do is that this organization provides housing for the homeless, but they're required to participate in my personal development classes and computer classes, nutrition classes, and get them legally updated and all. And it's fun, but so I get to do with this organization what I love doing, because all of them here, that they're taking medications. A lot of them, they don't know why. They're given these labels: bipolar, depression, schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, all these different type of labels. And I asked him, well, okay, you have this label. How do you know that's you? Well, I don't know. So the doctor said, well, is it really you? Well, I don't know. When do you get off these things? Well, I take it for the rest of my life. I go, oh, all right. Have you asked why you have to do that? Okay. And we go through the same thing. It's not a weird exercise, but I just say, hey, everyone in this room, who do you love most? Oh, I love my wife. I love my dog. Well, no. The answer is you have to love yourself. You gotta love yourself. That's the right answer, and because you came from love, okay, and you are love, and
you cannot get what you do not have.
No, you're put on earth as a God seed, and it's up to you to become a God self. That's how you learn. And what's the secret sauce of living? It's giving. You got to give. Okay, and that's another God law of giving, receiving, circulation. You got to give, you got to learn how to receive, and that's the circulation. Okay, and so when you look at things like that, it's all energetic. All of it's energetic. And then just how the synchronicity goes. Before coming out to your show here, I just finished listening to these two documentaries. One is on energy medicine. The other one is called the Love is Medicine Project. And her name that put it on, her name is Rosie Berry, and she's actually going to be my guest, next week. And I start listening to that, and all of the guests or the presenters on these two documentaries, all doctors, all medical doctors, and so they're going, the pills don't work as well as energy. It goes, now there's science to prove that. But but we're still considered weird because our colleagues, the people I went to school with, they like giving out drugs because that's how they were trained. That's how everyone was trained. And so with the meaningful incidences that occur at the same time, Bob shot me an email and say, hey, well, you mind being a guest on Jamie's show? I go, wow. How does this turn up at this time, at this juncture of things? And why? Because you never brought this up before, okay? Right. And so I get to watch these documentaries, and I said, oh God, of course I want to get on this show, man. You talk about this guy all the time, my gosh, and I want to learn what he does.
And we have so much to talk about.
This is how I'm here, and I'm so blessed here. I get to learn a lot from Bob, and just with this communications radio business, something I don't want to do because just thinking about what he does stresses me out, so I don't want to do that. I'll let him do it.
Bob knows I always have respect and appreciation
because he's good at it, and he tells me and all this stuff he learns. I go, no, stop. I don't want to. You block me. It's not interesting me at all.
Gentlemen, hold on a second. Don't forget we have a couple of callers. One from
Phoenix,
one from Phoenix, one from Houston.
Perfect. Just real quick, Dr. Randall, you bring up a very interesting point to me, and that is I believe that you were sharing that your mom had her own therapy of creation and started knitting animals and then being able to start. What if, just maybe there was a potential that some of those animals that she created for her own healing are, I don't know, maybe some of your animal totems in this life experience or something like that. Yeah, exactly.
I never thought of that, and thanks for bringing it up, because she would just bring home a different type of animal, and I don't know why.
And exactly, they just came to you. They just came to you.
Yes, there's no giraffes in Honolulu. Things like that, or salamanders or stuff like that. I go, wow, okay, and then there's no lions. I go, okay, these are kind of neat, cool dolls, but where the heck did you come up with this idea? Well, thank you. I never even thought about that.
Yeah. So, and again, as we do this, because I do it all day long, I see more of the symbology in that capacity.
Mm.
And what I'm loving is look at how much you're healing yourself on all of these different levels and being able to give people some tools and techniques, with the empowerment, not the enablement, but the empowerment.
Yes.
And I think that once you can get that and start to effectively live and possibly even begin to thrive in your own life experience, now it's real. Now there's something to it. Because that kind of a connection can really help people to amplify how lucky we are in our own life experiences, and two, the empowerment to be able to learn from another person in that experience to go, okay, you know what? I don't have to go through that experience to learn the knowledge of it. All right. Thank you, Dr. Randall, and let's keep moving along. I think that's powerful. So thank you for having the strength and the ability. But not only that, just like, you were saying with Bob, here's another thing. Doink, you want to be a guest on the show? And you're like, wow. Oh, is that too easy for you, doctor? Good. That's the point. It becomes effortless. And with that kind of a power and the focus on it, this is not only what I do, this is who I am. This is the essence of my being. And just like you, I've just always been me. And exactly like you were sharing, if you would have told me I'd be doing this psychic stuff professionally, I would have been like, oh, that's cute, that's funny, because I've been doing it my whole life. But to be able to do that and to help people thrive, that's huge. Not only that, as you're into the mental aspect, I am training more and more psychologists and psychiatrists to use their psychic abilities. Takes it to a deeper level. And within that, it's that kind of an empowerment to understand where they're at so that you can communicate and not just talk.
So cool. Wow.
So, yeah. Hey, Dr. Randall, you okay for a couple of phone calls? Let's do
this.
Yes,
let's do it. Let's do it.
Bring it on, baby.
Yeah, let's do this. Okay, now, those who are on the phone, all right, I'm going to call out your area codes. And then one at a time, we're going to try to get you on and through here as quick as we can, okay? First one, area code 832 from Houston. Who's on the line?
Patrick Herbert. How you doing?
All right,
hey,
what's
Patrick.
Patrick.
There you go.
Patrick Herbert.
Yep. Hey, Patrick.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, great. Thanks for calling in. I remember the area code.
No problem. I've been enjoying it very much. Hi, Bob. How you doing?
Okay, what's up?
Not too much, Jamie. Interesting. You're in Arizona. I just recently moved from Cave Creek, which is an awesome, most beautiful place. I do regret moving there, but not so much regretting missing the summers.
God, yes, and it's growing. Everything's growing out here. Like I do, Patrick. If you can make it through the 4 months of facial treatments and spa treatments of 180 degrees, you're good. And then you've got 8 good months of
well, that's what everybody was telling me.
And so, Patrick, what got you to move out of there? What got you to move from this place to where you're at now? Because that's a kind of big shift.
Actually, it was work related, so I had to jump back here. But then when I came back here, my life started to take on a different path, and I've been through similar circumstances, such as Dr. Randall. Not exactly as traumatic, however, life resetting, and then I went through a very supernatural spiritual awakening with visions.
Can you share just a little bit of that, Patrick? Can you share just a little bit? I would love to hear what you've experienced.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
I feel like I'm at home. What? Huh?
Yeah.
You guys, hold on. You guys are on a 2-second delay, so that's why.
Okay. Hey, so Patrick, if you're okay, I would love, and I'm sure the listeners would love to hear at least one of the spiritual experiences that helped activate you more effectively into this world, man. Can you share?
Yeah, sure, of course. The most mind-blowing thing were the visions, because I'd never experienced anything like that. All of this began to happen to me in 2012 when I had met, who is now my wife. I had never experienced a connection before with anybody else. I was married to another woman, but all we did was fight. But the minute I saw my wife, my whole life changed. And then I suffered lung collapse, and it turned out I had what they called bad lungs. It was emphysema bulla, but they were all over my lungs, and they shouldn't have been there. So it was a rare condition at my age. After the surgeries and after the second surgery, everything went wrong. and throughout the night, and the hospital was in a state of negligence. So I was bleeding to death all night long, but the nurse was completely ignoring this. And by the time the surgeon came in the morning and they saw what was happening, I was bleeding out through the chest tube, and they saw what was happening, and everything went crazy, and they had to wheel me into an emergency third surgery. I had to get a blood transfusion. All sorts of stuff was happening. I had a near-death experience at the time, also an out-of-body experience while I was in bed in the middle of the night. So,
can you share the near-death?
I'm sorry?
Can you share the near-death experience with us? If you're okay with it, of course.
Sure. Out-of-body was more fascinating in terms of seeing my arms sparkle. The near-death was it was hard. It's kind of hard to remember, but it was in that transition period between going through the second and third surgery when everything had gone wrong, and by that morning. So I didn't get ejected out of my body, but I did it like I did with I had moved parts of my limb outside of my physical body, and I thought, of course, what's happening in the trauma from the whole situation changed or opened something up within me. So
yes.
After I get home and I go through recovery, I felt different. I just felt completely different. They had said that I had PTSD, this and that, whatnot. But anyways, and then about maybe, I would say a couple months after that, the vision started. And I've never, like I said, I didn't know that, I've read like Edgar Casey and people having visions, but I'd never experienced it for myself. And they were very vivid. They came with intuition at the same time, and I would dictate what I would see. And I can say that there were 4 distinct visions, and one of them was a hand painting a paintbrush in the sky, and the intuition was that we create our own future. We paint our own future. We create our own reality. And of course, these are, I had to pursue individual lines of research. What does that mean? What is it? I had the intuition, but I didn't have a clue that you create your own reality with your mind. I didn't know any of that kind of thing.
That's your own life canvas.
Cool. But and then the second vision was that consciousness and the reality that we experience are both two sides of the same coin. And this had to do with the mostly that you could find out through particle physics and stuff, such as the dual slit experiment. That this is not a physical realm; it's actually an energy-based realm. So, and I had pursued that line of research. And one of the most fascinating ones was the shoebox with cameras. It was a line of cameras like you would see in a studio, and then there was the image of a shoebox on its side, kind of like a sound stage would be, right? And the stream cameras were going through, and the intuition about these cameras was that these cameras had encoding and decoding mechanisms that were related to the scene. And that the scene was actually our experienced reality, and we were the cameras. We were like some sort of biomechanical vehicle with the ability to encode and decode this reality energetically. And, and that pursued lines of research, and I learned about I had learned from Robert Monroe, the Monroe Institute, about the energy body and such in the past. That was fascinating, esoteric stuff, but never to the degree until I had these visions.
Yeah, now it's real. That's the point.
Yeah.
Lordy.
Very intense. It was a very intense awakening. I actually had written an article about it on my blog. I sent you an email yesterday, actually, because I actually wanted, after Dr. Randall had told me about you, I wanted to pursue your services after this call.
Awesome.
Or after the show. So since you hopefully have that in your inbox somewhere.
And so, Patrick, with that, you had the near-death experience before the astral travel, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Kind of interesting that you're near death.
I did not leave my body fully and go into any astral realm. I did pull out of my physical body, and I sat there and observed my energy body basically. And to me, while I was in the hospital bed, and then I would go in and out of consciousness as it was going out. So.
But getting that different perspective, going, holy Moses, now this stuff is real because I've just experienced it. And, I think, like I do, getting that inner soulscape. What about the visual aspect of what we see and create through that is what the cameras will reflect and play in our lives. And I think that when you've had those kinds of experiences and you start to become more aware of who you are as that spiritual being of oneness, because we're all connected, but for that, do you assist other people, just like Dr. Randall? Do you help them to empower themselves? Do you connect with the public in any way in that capacity?
I am beginning to. So I've been getting a lot of synchronicities lately, especially with Dr. Randall. And it was for about the past 3 months, I've decided that I'm going to fully pursue this new life path. So my foray into this realm is just now beginning, but it has become a lifelong dedication because the experiences were very intense, and the ones that I had with my wife, and we experienced while looking at each other one night, when we were not on any substances. We were completely sober, and I looked at her face, and she looked at my face from across the room, and suddenly her face shape changed thousands of times in an instant. And at the same time, I experienced all the past lives I had together with each one of those faces. The same thing happened to her at the same time, and we both stood at each other just with our mouths open until finally I think it was her who said it first, and she said, "Your face just changed like thousands of times." And then I said, "Yours did too." So we had these that proved to me that, and of course, the one thing that happens after that, and I've never, like I said, I've never felt anything as so passionately as I do about my wife, and in every single way. And we remembered together unconditional love. So I'm coming from now this full-blown spiritually awakened position with a full-blown understanding of unconditional love, and I'm armed to the teeth with all of this knowledge. So I'm so excited. You could probably tell with my voice. That's one of the reasons I'm like, heck yeah, I'm going to call in.
Freaking A. But look at how that validation with your lovely wife, that you've had so many of those past life experiences and getting to know, oh, you're in my soul group. Oh, okay, that's part of it. No wonder why we're back together. But in addition, did you begin to receive any information about other planets and worlds that you've lived in and on, other dimensions, other universes? Have you had anything along those lines in the cosmic scheme of things?
Yes, I have had communicated to me via my Kindle in the morning messages, and also I have had advice and messages coming back to me whenever I would do searches. I've had direct communication with a non-human intelligence, which is guiding a actual real life spiritual awakening that's actually really happening right now. I have, I'm tapped in pretty much all the way. So it's right now, it's a matter of pulling all of this together and kind of presenting what I know and what I've learned and what I've seen and what I've experienced to the world. And as Dr. Randall has encouraged me, is to make sure that I, share this through the lens of unconditional love, because that is, it's funny because I came across a comment the other day. We are in this reality right now. We're slugging it out in third density levels, right? All of the third density stuff that's going on right now, we're all slugging it out. We're in the trenches, we're slugging it out. But we're not getting anywhere. We're just going in circles. We really are. And one of the reasons is because we're not, like Dr. Randall says, we're not looking at this through the lens of unconditional love, because that is literally what will fix everything here. Literally. So,
big time. And as crazy as it is,
it's so true.
It's what allows everything too. Isn't that crazy? Like, oh, Lordy. And I think that brings up an interesting point as well with that kind of capacity, just to me. And that is, that I've seen it, that love is everything. Love of itself already is unconditional. To me, I always felt like, wow, as soon as you say unconditional for that, you just put a condition on it. Like, wait a minute. Through so much of that love and those connections that, look, as you, Patrick, and Dr. Randall are having this inner soulscape of awareness, being able to plant those seeds of consciousness, not only within your own life, but in those of others' lives, that it's not judgment, but understanding and compassion. And I think, as you know, like I do, that we're always growth-seeking beings. No matter how many dreams, how many aspirations of life we have, once we attain them, we got more. So have to fund the journey getting there. And so much of these dynamics for Dr. Randall to have his physiological aspects and the mental and emotional that, is a part of who your life experience is, and that big old canvas of what are you going to paint on your soulscape of awareness, because it'll be anything or nothing and love you just the same. And, I think also within that knowledge, I always say, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if nobody knows you're there, whatever. And so for you to get connected and get that energy and information out to the masses, sometimes it just takes a different perspective to go, Patrick, I've heard that crap 1,000 times, but click. All right, you know what? That's the first time I get that. I'm going to put that to the test. And I'm sure you're like me, and that is good. Do it, please. And always question everything. Be skeptical about everything. Just be open. And once you have that experience, now it just got real. To me, secondhand is nice, but firsthand experience, that's soul growth, because it takes me out of my mind and into my soul. And each experience I have is kind of aspected into my Rolodex of eternal beingness, not just the Rolodex here in this physical, but the unification of oneness. Have you merged with the oneness, Patrick? Have you unified? Have you any of those cosmic, even more powerful connections?
Mm-hmm. Have I? Yes, I've experienced the oneness. I've always likened our souls and to something akin to a tree. And if you've ever noticed, trees are fractals, so that's a beautiful analogy for what the one single mind is, with its various branches of self, which would be us, different God aspects, as you would say. One of the things that's really interesting about this conversation that we're both having is what I had heard you say earlier. While I was actually taking a shower this morning, all of this information about soul identity started to come into me. And so whenever you started talking about that at first, and this is something I've looked at, I was just thinking about it, and I was just playing with the idea. And I always think it's cool that we have a very unique soul fingerprint, and it's kind of like our digital ID, but for the soul. And so, and I was just really thinking about this more. So when you started talking about it on the radio, I was like, oh, okay, well, something's up here. So it's just really interesting. And you also mentioned soul families and that is another thing that I've been noticing as of late, is that a lot of us are connecting with each other more and more. It's increasing in frequency, at least from my perspective and my own personal experience, obviously. I don't know how it's going for everybody else, but and it is. And Dr. Randall was very much a part of this, and one of my friends, Tom, who has the site montauk.net, and Dr. Randall, I had participated in his show last month, and had brought Tom on, and he believes in the soul family very much as well. I mean, because it's not like it's truth to us, because we live it, and I'm seeing more examples of it, and you were just talking about it. So I don't know, all of this excites me very much. So I might go keep talking, so I'm gonna quiet for a little bit.
Well, and that's beautiful, and thank you, Patrick. I mean, that's fantastic. And to be able to hear some of what you've experienced and gone through, and how you've come through this, and who you are at this moment as a conscious being, that's powerful. And I'm kind of like you. For me, kind of like the tree analogy, is every thought you think is a seed that you're planting in the cosmic soil. Each and every thought, each and every seed already has the full blueprint of manifestation of what's in that seed, or it would not grow. And, I started learning to plant more of the seeds of consciousness in my soulscape that I did want, more so than I didn't want. Because the universe didn't register negative. It's like whether I wanted it or not, if I was thinking about it, I must want it, because I'm planting those seeds of whatever that is. And as I started learning some of the natural laws that exist within this universe and all that good stuff, it gave me a little bit more understanding to go, oh, okay, now I'm understanding at least a little more of how I'm getting things in life that I'm getting, why I'm getting it, because a lot of us will feel disempowered. I don't know what the frick is happening. And not only that, I keep praying for everything. I'm getting nothing. And so, as I've gone along in 54 years of doing this, I've come to realize that everything is spiritual. Everything is relative. We're extraterrestrials and everyone else. Woo, we're living on the other side of where we come from before here. But, to me, no matter where you go, there you are. And how the universe is connected, and our loved ones, at least for me, except for me, is like we have an IP address on the internet web, we have an SP address, a soul address on the universal web, never lost and always found. And I'm into that holographic stuff because I learned a lot of information through the scientific studies that I've done over the past number of years, and helping with the technology of creating the cell phone. Man, that's freaking huge. It's all of this spiritual stuff, and the quantum physics is now spiritual physics, unification, not separation. And I think having more people that will just do them and be their essence of who they are, that does become an amplifier, an example, and maybe just another perspective for people to gain some information. Whether they choose it or not is certainly fine, but at least it's being offered and shared. Because sometimes you can get a little lonely. Like, is anyone else experiencing this? Because holy crap, I kind of feel like I'm on my own. Like, and then when you can have that and get that soul print of consciousness and some of your team as your soul group, it gives you a little bit more comfort, more than likely. But also just one other thing, Patrick, don't you find it interesting that you, Patrick, as this life, are soulscaping through all the other lives? Well, yeah, but when you graduate, I'm willing to bet you'll come through as Patrick, not one of the other 10,000 people that you've been. Don't you kind of find that interesting or something like that? It's just, yeah. I amuse myself, man.
Okay.
But, it's all of those dynamics that I also learned in the scientific studies as we had Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein, and a variety of other people come through. Yeah, but what about all the other lifetimes and conscious vehicles that they were in? Same soul print. We only live one life, an eternal life, and each life is a minute, meow, hour of the day kind of thing. Did you grasp the concept of oneness, that you are an eternal being? Did that ebb into your awareness as you had these experiences, Patrick?
Yes. Oh, yeah, totally. And that is the big thing, because if you're coming from that position, it makes understanding all of this and everything that we need to do, at least the work that we need to do here, a lot easier. Approaching these problems from the understanding that you're an eternal being that reincarnates, changes the way you approach life completely, because you're no longer bound down to this fear that, oh gosh, that's everything if I screw up, and they use that fear to control us intensely.
Hey, Patrick.
So
Patrick, I always say to people all the time, when you actually know what you're talking about, and what happens and where we've been and where we're going, and is there another lifetime? When you finally come to grips with that fact, then you don't say, this is the end of my life. You say, oops, it's the beginning.
Each moment.
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%. So and coming with that knowledge, coming in that position, and you try, I guess, one of the things that I wanted to do so desperately was share this knowledge and try to convince people, man, it's hard. So, and you had brought this subject up, and a lot of times, fortunately, like in your field, Jamie, you get a chance to strategize on a one-on-one level with these people, so you can really make some headway. And I admire people in that line of work, such as yourself, very much, because you're doing it from the heart, and because there's it's very obvious, and it's true help. And earlier in this discussion we were talking about pills and pharmaceuticals. I had, before my awakening in 2012, I was very addicted to all of the pharmaceuticals that were prescribed to me under the case that I had depression, and I had this attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, whatever label. And of course, how did they determine this? They gave me a piece of paper that said, "Do you have depression? Are you sad?" And sure, yeah, I'm sad. And the next thing you know, here's your prescription, son. Kind of thing. So it was just, and of course, I had to allow myself to be convinced of this. No one was forcing me to be convinced of this. But at the time, and how they market to sell pills. They literally market depression out to children and make it a kind of a cool thing with the culture. You've got these idols, especially in America, they're not exactly role models for children. They have all these problems and this and they one when I was growing up was Kurt Cobain, and they made depression cool. So it was very easy for me to be convinced that I'm depressed too, and I need all these pills. And then 15 years later, my whole life is falling apart because of them. These were supposed to fix me, whereas they're not. They left me horrifically dependent on them, and I was unraveling. My mind, my soul, my body, every part of me was unraveling. So it's just very interesting.
Well, yeah, and a lot of times with the medication, it's just to kind of mask that and to numb it, but that's just masking the problem, not empowering the solution. And I think that's a major thing, especially when a lot of it is about the money. I sound like a conspiracy nut till it's validated. They already have the technology to do a lot of this stuff. The cancer, cure for cancer, all that kind of stuff is there. It's been around a long time. They're not ignorant. There's a lot of money to be made, and at the moment, that's what kind of helps this merry-go-round go round in that way, just in one way or another. So, thank you, Patrick, for sharing and calling in.
Hey.
Awesome. And I look forward to talking to you.
Okay.
Go
Jamie,
ahead.
do you have time for another?
Of course. Yeah. I just want to make sure we're on time for you, Bobby.
Patrick, thank you. And if you want to get in touch with Jamie, tell me the address.
Yeah. Email me at insight@jamieclark.net. And we'll get back to you and let's get things going, man. And thank you for doing what you're doing, Patrick. That's excellent. Keep up the great work.
So much. Appreciate it. Talk to you guys later.
There you go.
got it.
Be good now.
See ya.
Okay, there's someone else on area code 480 from Phoenix. Who's on the line?
It's Reese.
You got Jamie?
Reese?
Yeah, Reese. What's up? How you doing?
I'm okay. Physically not well.
Yeah. What up?
Yes. I'm just, for lack of a better term, burning the candle at both ends. And
Yes, ma'am.
I'm wondering, I'm trying to visualize where I want to belong and ultimately be. The challenge is that I don't have a lot of resources to spend a lot of time doing that. For instance, I have a son, I have a job, he's involved in various activities. So by the time I get home and crash, aside from, the dreams that I have and the visits that I have, that's about it.
Sure.
So and that's a lot. I'm very grateful for that. But at the same time, I'm starting to feel like there's a shift coming. And
Yes,
I just wanted to run that by you and see what
and I agree.
insight you have.
Perfect. And Reese, thank you for calling in this way because, it's that dynamic that you can have a lot of stuff going on and then you're starting to go, so, it's a little bit more of this is your year of orchestration, knowing how much time, energy, and attention to give the people, circumstances, and experiences. Okay, now we're vibing instead of, I've got this going on, this, and and, Reese, I always say, as you know, that if you don't really know what you want to do, or where you want to go or what you want to be, then how do you want to feel successful, fulfilled, abundant, happy? And for me, that's all I can do. But if I have a dynamic where I'm a little bit challenged, I'll take myself to I just recall a memory of a positive, happy experience, whether it was a joke or a dynamic, and it just shifts my thought. Do you have any of those mental adjustments that you do? Any visuals, any ways to connect with that emotional energy in a more positive way?
I always hear my son's first cry when he was born.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Well, and that kind of tells me that you're being newly born every moment in this way and getting those capacities to understand even more. And the great thing is, like I do as a parent, that's unconditional, man. 24/7, you're always going to do that. And here's everything I did, and I hope you're 10 better than I did. And don't forget your parents. All right, keep moving along. But, within that, you're a very strong healer. And we talk, as you know, but it's also in the fact of always be good for others, but you've got to keep yourself included because people don't know how to help the one who helps everyone else. They'll offer, in this case, Reese, if there's anything I can do, I am here for you. And they mean it. They just don't know how to help you. So you, like me, don't be a hypocrite. If you're going to help others, you better be willing to help yourself. And I think that that's a little bit more of what's going on. And Reese, as you're using, because you are very intuitive, especially with your son, that it's starting to speak a little bit louder. Those subtle feelings are starting to be more communication. You go, okay, I feel like that's the information. And feelings are information. Emotions are happy and sad. Feelings to me are, I feel like it's the right thing to do, or I feel like you're a good person. There's more of that feeling energy that you're very good at. So in addition, I will also tell you, and it could happen today, as you know, Reese, but by June at Vibes of 2020 or sooner, okay, will you have another job opportunity offered to you? And I will tell you there's a very strong potential that you'll more than likely at least entertain it. If not, you'll choose it because you got like an 80% already that it's there.
Okay. That's interesting that you said that because there's kind of some I don't know, there's a lot of shifting going around where I work right now. And I like the work that I do because it's, it's in the arts, and that's always been a passion. But the pull for me has always been helping people, but I'm terrible at doing it for myself.
Yeah, and right. But the good thing is even though I feel like I'm never going to, I shouldn't say never, but I feel like it's going to be a very rocky road for me if I don't start doing that. I just don't know how to go about helping myself, or healing myself in a lot of different areas that yes,
I think
ma'am.
are still, there's still some
First thing is,
and some things. Yeah.
And you're taking time for you, finally. That's the point, is you've got to give yourself some parameters and information as well. Dr. Randall, do you have any insight that you'd like to share with Reese?
No, I love listening to her talk, but, hers is one where she's getting in contact with her innermost self. And then what she's worried about is this time frame. And I think that a lot of what you brought up is just very valuable, is that watching her young son grow is she gets to watch herself grow. So it's really quite a beautiful thing. And you're so nearing that high energetic level that's going to, kind of smack you. And it's going to come out. And from there, you're going to have to make that decision. Okay, here it is. What do I do? Okay, but that's coming, towards you because, one, you're in that energy level, and eventually that's going to meet up.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Quite awesome. Quite awesome. Boy, you're heading in such a great direction. Wow.
Awesome. And Reese, we'll be talking more.
Yeah, we definitely will. I'll call and talk with you soon. Thank you.
Perfect. Hang in there. You got it, and you've got this. Let's do this, Reese.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Well, there you go.
Bye-bye.
There you go.
Pleasure.
Wow. That's awesome. Wow.
Gentlemen,
Dr. Randall.
Awesome.
Thank you. Hey, Dr. Randall, I would love to have you back again on the show if you're okay with that. We got so much more that we can share.
Oh, no, thank you. I get to see you in action. Okay, and so, but you use that energetic world to help people grow, help people find themselves.
Yes.
Because in this physical realm, because everyone's got that soul print, and then you've got that ability to be in that world, and you draw all this neat stuff out of these folks, and it's almost that they're desperate to try to do it themselves, but often we can't. So you get to share your gifts, and help these people out, because it's being anxious, but you don't know why.
Sure. Yep.
You feel something, but you can't explain it because you can't put the word to it. But what you do is that at a very intuitive level, you can see inside of them, and you draw that goodness out. So yes, I would love to come back, because I just hanging around you, I feel I feel free.
And we make a great
I just feel so great, and you're the real deal. You are the real deal. You're incredibly gifted that way, and then you get to share it. So
thank you.
Wow.
And Dr. Randall, thank you as well. I've had a great time with this, and for all of the beautiful work that you're doing. I want to get into more of the aspects of what you're into and helping other people. I think that there's a lot of great information and insight that you're sharing. Dr. Randall, how can people get a hold of you? How can they get more information?
Yeah, I think the best way is from what I just mentioned, my email, that Mirabelle.nozawa@gmail.com. That Mirabelle is kind of easy to remember because that's my youngest daughter's middle name, and I chose it for that reason. And a lot of folks say, well, that's not a great name for her email. It should be more business. I go, well, she's my business, and I say, if my thing is for all the three girls and my wife, it's all love, and so I think that's the perfect email. So I like it. I'm not going to change it. So anyway, Mirabelle.nozawa@gmail.com, please.
That's
Anytime.
beautiful.
So you can also go to his website, drrandallgeorge.com.
Perfect. And ladies and gentlemen, Bob and I are going to be on every Tuesday, baby. So we're moving from Wednesday every 2 weeks to every Tuesday.
Every other
please. Are we going to do every other Tuesday? Okay, good. I just want to make sure then if I'm ready for it, let's do it.
Yeah,
Again,
good.
Dr. Randall. Awesome.
If it keeps up like this, I'll have the two of you together every Tuesday.
Oh,
yeah,
hey,
isn't that cool?
I'm all for that.
Heck yeah, there's a lot to share. Definitely.
Yeah, there is.
Bobby, ladies and gentlemen, lots of love. I will talk to you soon.
Awesome. Gentlemen, thank you very, very much. It's been an honor having you two in front of my face all while I'm watching this show. And you know what? We do a lot of things in our lives. We do a lot of things that for other people in our lives and don't even realize it. Do you know what you can actually do? You can actually, just by saying good morning to someone, you're sending love. Send love to the most and the more and all the people you possibly can every day of your life. And you know what? You will be number one in your own life. Remember, I am. God bless y'all. Bob Charles.